CMON is one of the largest companies when it comes to crowdfunded board games. In a large way, crowdfunded board games are the way that they are because of CMON, because of the success of Zombicide. The history of Zombicide is now many years old. It has been going on for a long time, and it's gone from something of a crowdfunded darling to something of a sore spot for many people. Now, I'm going to be talking about Deceased, a Zombicide game. This is coming out very soon, November 14th, 2023 at the time of recording for this, and it is essentially the Marvel Zombies but with DC on their Deceased game, and there's a lot of different things happening with it. Alright, so a quick recap. Here is Deceased. This is Deceased, a Zombicide game, and it will be available on November 14th. And as you can see, it looks like it's going to actually be pretty darn good. They have a lot of really cool stuff here. I'll be talking about this and coming back to this page a little bit in the future. But for now, let's take a trip down memory lane. If you don't know what this is, what is this, right? This was a leak. This was that. Marvel Zombies. Come here. Heroes Resistance. Why would I show you that? Well, this video was some person found this out on Amazon.ca for Canada, the Canada version of it, listed for Spin Master Games, board game Marvel Zombies board game with some weird looking, like, I mean, just look at that thing. It looks like a rogue AI made it. The weirdest looking thing ever. It was not supposed to be live, but this did leak out. It showed up earlier than it should have been. And then the public was aware of this game. Now, this was a big deal because CMON didn't tell anybody this. When they were running the Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game Kickstarter, they told nobody this. So when you went here and you bought this, you had no idea that there was going to be some like smaller game where you could play as heroes and for cheap. The reason that was a big deal is because they did something a little bit different with this. Not only do they have the big miniature, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but the core game, the only way you could get it for $130 was to play as zombies. You didn't get to play as a superhero in the superhero-themed board game, which a lot of people, including myself, had an issue with. We want to play as superheroes. You could, however, from the get-go, play with the X-Men Resistance, where you then got to play superheroes. But they didn't let you, even though it's a standalone game, they didn't let you pick between the two. Instead, you had to buy both. So you had to spend $240 before you could play as heroes. Now, that caused a lot of people to be bummed. Hey, I want to play as heroes, but I have to spend $240 to get it. Obviously, it still did very well. Over 9 million raised, 28,000, almost 29,000 backers, and a lot of people love it. Zombicide's always a hit. It's kind of hard to goof up with Zombicide, in my opinion. And of course, the Marvel IP is just fantastic. But either way, like, people were in for $240 just to do that. And then it turns out that this was coming out. And so this showed up as $44. It ended up being, I paid $35 for this, by the way. So it ended up being way cheaper, and it was going to be in retail first. In other words, backers were not going to get their game first. There were going to be people, retail people, just regular consumers that were able to play Marvel Zombies as heroes before you ever did, and for way, way cheaper. Now, once this leak happened, then when CMON was pressed, they came out with some information saying, hey, this is going to be a thing. Here's some information about it. But they only said it because of the leak. Otherwise, nobody would have been all the wiser. And then they ended up offering a shipment where you could get at least your core game at the same time. That was kind of the whole deal there. So what's cool about that is this right here. This was posted on November 2nd at 9:01 a.m. on the CMON official Facebook page, where it says, we are happy to announce that as it has been done in previous projects, Deceased, a Zombicide game, will also have a direct-to-retail mass-market version, a modified core box with a streamlined scope intended for more casual players. The scope is just how many minis you get, how many tiles you get. This plays up to 4 players and has smaller scale missions because of it, but otherwise, it's kind of all the same. The rule set doesn't change at all. This box will not be offered in the Kickstarter, and it's expected to hit retail before pledges are shipped out in lieu of two-way shipping. Stay tuned for more details about this box in the upcoming months. So what that tells upcoming months means we'll find out more afterwards, right? Unless there's some kind of leak and people really press for it. But essentially, they're going to make a Deceased version of this, and they told people ahead of time. That is so great. One is kind of a little manipulative thing where they're purposely kind of keeping you ignorant and, making sure you don't know. And they were already kind of doing this thing where you had to buy both boxes to be able to get it, but to play as heroes. But in this one, nope, you could actually get it right there. And they're saying already ahead of time, don't worry about it. You can get this before. Now, that's on their Facebook post. It's just a Facebook post. It's not really an announcement. Ideally, we'd see that in an FAQ on the Kickstarter. I will let you know in a future video if they do say it at some point somewhere on the actual Kickstarter. Hey, as an FYI, this will not be the first deceased game delivered. There will be one in retail sooner and for cheaper. I don't know if they'll say that or not, but at least they're doing this. And that is such a great thing to see. Now, I will say that this is only done because of videos like this. It's done because of comments like what you guys left. And it's just you guys letting the company know, hey, this is not okay. We want this. Public outcry works. The proof is right here. They're not doing this to try and make more money. They're doing this because they're worried if they don't, again, that there will be another public backlash. And I think it's great. I think it's awesome that they're doing that. It's awesome that we can hold the ball in our court, that we can help make things better. It looks like they learned more than that, though. I think they might get this right. You see, this has this gigantic bigature here, right, is what most people call it. It's about the size of a small toddler, massive mini. And they did this with Cthulhu Death May Die as well. It's kind of a really big deal. You'll see here that you could get the Galactus Pledge for $410, so quite a bit of money there. But it did get you a really cool big miniature, so I'm sure the people got it, love it. But it's definitely a huge like FOMO deal, right? Hey, get this giant thing, collectible thing you'll never be able to get anywhere else. It doesn't look like they're doing that. And the reason I say that is because they have this video here showing off the deceased game, and they don't show that at all. Now, in a convention, they had a giant Superman, but I think that's just for the convention, because with the CMON Marvel Zombies game, they like advertised the Galactus like a whole lot. It was very much a well-known and big thing. There was going to be this giant miniature. They sent it to some YouTubers to paint and show off and all that kind of stuff. It was a big deal. And so I feel like they would have already done that if they were going to in this one. So they're not doing that either, which again, I think is super great. It's very good to not focus that much on this kind of like, kind of ridiculous level of FOMO, if that makes sense. So really happy to see that as well. There's more though. They're also going to have items. One of the big complaints about Marvel Zombies is that there are no items, so there's no real loot. Now, I get why they did that, right? It kind of does make sense in a large way, because obviously you have superpowers, you're not using items, but a large part of Zombicide, for a Zombicide game, is loot, getting different loot. They had a thing where you could get kind of one-off powers, but it wasn't very good anyway, and you typically don't waste your time. And that being said, they are going to have some ultra-powerful weapons, some iconic weapons like Nth Metal Axe, the Trident of Poseidon, stuff like that, LexCorp stuff, just a lot of stuff like that you can get. Now, it's not going to be as much, but they are going to have items there, and I think that's super great. And they even have cool little kind of one-off abilities, or sometimes even just stuff that happens every time you attack, stuff like that. So very cool to see that. So they're announcing stuff early. They're not leaning as much into FOMO. They're adding items back into the game. It's almost like CMON is listening to us. And I think that's fantastic. From a company that started out so strong and so beloved, to a company that then very much struggled with business tactics that might gain them money, but not gain them new, like, fans, if that makes sense. In other words, I paid for it, but I'm not happy about it, right? And so they're doing all this stuff that really, really shows an upward trend. And I want to give them credit for that. I want to give kudos to good behavior for improvement. So when it comes to most improved award, you can stick CMON right there. I really think that's the case. I think they are doing quite good right now, and that is so awesome. They're really focused on the gameplay. There are 5 different dev diaries. They're about to have a live stream here soon. I'll link down to that in the description below as well for you guys to actually, along with to the campaign, with the game designers to be able to talk about that. It's great to see them really passionate about making games and about actually trying to make a good game at what seems to be a very honest offering. And I really do appreciate that. It's such a large difference between this, where it doesn't look like they're doing the 2-box thing. It looks like they just have the deceased thing. They haven't shown the X-Men Resistance style thing. And this comes out, I'm recording this on the 9th at night, and this comes out on the 14th. So just less than a week away. And so they haven't shown this kind of thing. They haven't shown this kind of thing. It's just, here's a deceased box. Now, I'm sure they're going to offer more, but they're not doing this whole, like, you have to buy 2 full things at $240 thing. Really appreciate that. I think they're doing it great. Let me know what you guys think about this. CMON has been something that got me into the industry, and I loved to death. I started this channel, and it really took off based off of painting their minis, based off of hate, based off of all the great stuff that they were doing. I loved it. And then they kind of went down the wayside, but you know what? They're actually coming back up for me. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Regardless, if they do anything funny, of course you'll hear that from me as well. And just know that, again, public outcry works, right? This kind of stuff works. And we're seeing the improvement already. And that's so great. It will make the industry better. A company like CMON has the power to not quite undo something that Mythic Games has done, or Blacklist Games, or Peterson Games, or all these other companies that have really struggled lately in a very public fashion on crowdfunding. Instead, they can actually help boost confidence. They can deliver more on time. They can show that a real company run like a real business can actually do well. I think that's great. I hope they continue to do it, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm excited. I think it's great. Most improved. Come on. All right. Take care, guys.